Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Some of you may have seen my recent video on the orchestral music of Thomas de Hartmann, the Ukrainian composer who actually spent most of his career that we talk about. I mean, the part that he was famous for as the amanuensis, whatever they call it, the recording secretary of Armenian mystic Arthur Gurdjieff. Now, Arthur Gurdjieff was, one of these sort of like cult leaders. He was like the Sun Myung Moon or one of those people of his little cult of mystical whatever the heck it was. And de Hartmann was a member of it. And Gurdjieff went zipping around the universe of Eastern Europe mostly, picking up tunes. And theoretically remembering, we don't really know, tunes that he later used as part of his sort of mystical rite of transfiguration and spiritual enlightenment, which he called the work. And de Hartmann actually transcribed these things and arranged them for the piano because Gurdjieff was musically semi-literate, and apparently, according to de Hartmann, he ran around with a guitar, and which he only played with his third finger, picking out bits of melody, which de Hartmann was then tasked with arranging in terms of normal notation so that they could be used as part of his religious rites and for, the delectation of others. Now, some of this music is quite well known, or at least it's gotten around, let's put it that way. It's kind of famous, and it's quite lovely. Most of these pieces, there are about 170 of them, are quite short. They last from like 1 minute to, there's one that's like 11 minutes, but it's between 1 and 3, 1 and 4 minutes long for each. And, a little of them sort of go a long way. And eventually they were all published in 4 volumes, and most of them were recorded, some of you may recall, on the Vergo label, which is the recording organ of Schott, the music publisher. But there is now a wonderful new collection on 6 CDs, a lot of music, of the entire set by the fantastic Dutch pianist, Jeroen van Veen. Here he is, doing the complete Gurdjieff de Hartmann piano music. Now, I have to say, having gotten through most of it, and I have to confess I didn't listen to every bit of it, because it lasts endlessly, and it's just a lot of music. This was a pandemic product. This is something to do during lockdown. You do 170 little piano pieces. And believe me, I am extremely sympathetic to Mr. Van Veen because this is how I started this channel. This was something for me to do during lockdown, right? Do 1,000 music videos, talk about, classical music for, actually, this is the 1100th video, in case you're curious. So, yeah, we had a lot of time on our hands, and some of us still do. And we made videos, or we made recordings of Gurdjieff and de Hartmann. But I want to play you a couple samples because it really is lovely stuff, and you can decide whether you like it or not. It's a good, inexpensive set, and if you want the complete batch, there's no better way to get it. I will say one thing. It's very, very interesting from a theoretical and aesthetic point of view that religious, quasi-faux religious, spiritual, pseudo-spiritual stuff tends to be rather anodyne. Haven't you noticed that? It's like Christian rock. It's like, Jesus only sang in major triads. There's no dissonance. There's nothing that could possibly ruffle your feathers or challenge you aesthetically. There were composers who did express religious sentiment in avant-garde musical terms. Late Stravinsky, his 12-note music was almost entirely sacred music. Messiaen is a wonderful example of someone who had no problem mixing his theological predilections with all kinds of other interesting things, Hindu rhythms and modes of limited transposition and crazy dissonance and wacky polyphony and birds screaming from every direction. Some composers tried to do it, but we don't really think of their music as specifically religious, and you don't normally play it in church, although Messiaen played his organ music in church all the time, which must have been rather scarifying. But most of the time, ever since like the days after Palestrina, when this style of notated music started to break off into sacred and secular bits, there has always been this sort of tension between music that was appropriate for spiritual use or for actual liturgical use or worship, and music that was considered to be profane. And one of the things you find in these sort of pop religious cult things is that distinction is obliterated. It's completely obliterated because it's pop religious cult things. And so you play pop religious music and you just switch the words around. And, or something like that and say, oh, it's religious. And everyone says, yes, of course it's religious. So we have de Hartmann, de Hartmann's arrangements are lovely, but the tunes themselves, well, they sort of range between kind of salon music and the exoticism of Rimsky-Korsakov, let's say. It doesn't get any deeper than that. It truly doesn't. Although some of the harmonies are kind of interesting, and there are bits for rhythmic accompaniment that's kind of a little bit different, that adds a little more spice to the stew. Let's put it that way. And I got a couple examples to play you, and you'll hear exactly what I mean. It's just charming music to listen to. I wouldn't play it thinking that you're going to be transported to an otherworldly spiritual realm. Let's put it that way. Then again, I wouldn't play Messiaen thinking that either. So, hey, whatever floats your boat, I guess is how it works. So here we have 6 CDs of this stuff. It's divided up into 4 books. Volume 1 is Asian Songs and Rhythms. So let's listen to the Oriental Song, which is number 5 in the set. The first few are like a Greek melody, a Greek round dance, a Greek song, then a Kurd melody for 2 flutes, which is played on a piano, of course. And, there are things, the Persian dance, the Song of Ancient Rome, although how, Gurdjieff knew what songs of ancient Rome sounded like, I have no idea. Maybe he channeled something. And then the ancient Greek melody, and, there's stuff like that. Assyrian women mourners. So it's all kinds of interesting things. And I personally think that Gurdjieff probably made up 99% of it, but what the heck? What matters is what it sounds like. And here's what it sounds like. Here is the Oriental Song. Very attractive, exotic, interesting harmonies. It's nice stuff. And here's another little example of it from book 2. This is the dervish dance. I mean, who could resist a dervish dance? Dervish dances are always wonderful. They whirl, right? Whirling dervishes. Well, this one doesn't whirl too much. This is kind of a more gentle, sort of deliberate dervish dance. They're measured dervishes. And it's like I said, most of this stuff is very, very short, very easy on the ear and charming. You put it on and, do house cleaning or something like that. Or you can pay attention to it. Nothing's going to strain the attention span here. Here is the dervish dance from book 2. charmante, n'est-ce pas? Lovely, isn't it? So, volume 2, by the way, is music of the Sayyids and the Dervishes in several series. And you get Persian dervishes, you get all kinds of dervishes. They come in all kinds of sizes and shapes. And let's see, what else have we got here? We've got volume 3, Hymns, Prayers, and Rituals. And volume 4, Hymns from a Great Temple and Other Selected Works. And that's the series. And that's a lot of music. Now, these were all recorded in 2021, between February and March and May. So between February and May, by Jeroen van Veen himself, and Brilliant Classics has produced it, and the sonics are beautiful, as I'm sure you heard. And if you're looking for the tidy ultimate collection of Gurdjieff and de Hartmann, this is the way to go. You're not going to do better than this. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.